And historically, New Zealand has had a good record against India in ICC tournaments, and I know it was a different format, but you were part of the team that won 3-0 in India. Does that sort of come into the picture at all in terms of when you discuss things from a confidence perspective going into a game like this?
Obviously, white ball cricket is, as you say, is a different format, and it does come down to a lot of who's in form at the right period of time, especially in world events like this. And I think obviously having a bit of success against India in the recent past definitely does give a little bit of confidence. But we come back to the things that we do well, sticking to our processes and making sure that each game is individualized for what it is. And I think that puts us in good stead going forward. Obviously, India are strong, and we've coming off some good form at the moment. So I think the recent form is potentially a little bit more of a confidence builder as opposed to what happened sort of a couple of months ago. But we've trained hard, we've worked well, and everyone's about as ready as they can be.
Glenn, of all the teams, New Zealand have countered the Indian spinners the best of late. I mean, in the Test series, the way the batters went, took the attack to the opposition, and in a way upset the rhythm of the Indian spinners. Do you agree that calculated aggression is the best way to counter the Indian spinners?
I think in Test cricket it definitely was. When it came to situations we were playing on pitches that were turning significantly, to be able to, I guess, score runs, it was more of a runs game, and as opposed to a matter of time. There's other countries that you can potentially outlast teams, but in that situation, that series we played, it was very much around runs in a quick fashion, and hopefully enough of them was going to be the case. I think in white ball cricket it does change a little bit. With there obviously only being 50 overs, the game plans slightly change to be able to, I guess, counteract situations of the game. The middle phase is obviously very crucial in the way Tom Latham and Will Young did it against Pakistan, and then obviously Tom and Ratchin in the last game against Bangladesh during a tricky period was fantastic. And I think that's probably crucial going into this one with the quality of the Indian spinners is going to be about how can we rotate strike, how can we take the game deep and be able to give ourselves a chance to, I guess, launch an attack at the death. And if we do bat first, put a competitive score on the board. And obviously, if we're chasing, that becomes really crucial to limit those dot balls in the middle overs with how good their spinners are. Obviously, it's not an easy task. They are fantastic spinners, but we've all got our individual plans, and hopefully we can go out there and execute them.
Glenn, given the condition, do you think you should be better prepared as a bowler than batsman here? And secondly, the reason New Zealand could be doing very well because there is so little competition for the spots. Not 5 or 6 players could be competing for one spot. There is a lot of sense of security. Maybe that is bringing the best out of the players. Unlike in India, I say there are so many players competing for so many spots.
Your first question was, sorry? Sorry, one at a time.
You should be better prepared as a bowler, you think?
Do we need to be more prepared as bowlers?
In the conditions.
In the conditions. Yeah, I think it definitely does come down to the execution phase, especially on pitches like this. We've got 2 really good spinners, and then obviously all-rounders and myself and Ratchin to be able to offer overs if we need. But we've got 3 high-quality pace bowlers. Obviously, Tez and Nipsit on glass, and 2 big tall boys that have got variable bounce over in Pakistan, which has been quite tough to play. And I think that covers our bases nicely. But it's a tough one to say whether the bowlers or the batters need to be more prepared. The wicket's obviously changing as we go from game to game, and this is going to be no different. So I think it's going to be about everyone being on their best on that particular day. And then the other question was around competition spots. We are fortunate in New Zealand where we do have a lot less players than India has to choose from, which means we can afford to give guys slightly longer runs before moving to potentially the next crop of players coming through. And that does obviously give a lot of confidence, but the same with any professional environment. If you aren't performing, there is always someone waiting in the wings. So the intense competition is slightly different to what maybe the Indian competition is from a pure numbers perspective, but we've got guys waiting in the wings that are definitely ready to be here and to perform. So for us, we try not to think about that because we're all in it together. There's a big wider squad that is all involved. We're all New Zealand cricket as a whole in this team environment, and I think that in itself, that culture that we've produced allows us to go out there and play for each other as opposed to playing for ourselves individually for other spots, which I do think gives us a little bit of an advantage, say over India, who, if you don't perform one day, you very well may not play the next 2 or 3 years.